Have you ever seen a woman walk into a room and suddenly the energy shifts? Men straighten their backs. Eyes follow her, but not with lust, with awe. Other women go quiet, observing her without even realizing it. She doesn't speak loudly. She's not trying to be seen, but somehow everyone feels her presence. Now here's the twist. It's not about beauty. It's not about body, and it's definitely not about being perfect. There's something deeper going on. Something you can't fake, and most women haven't been taught. This video isn't about chasing men, getting attention, or playing games. It's about unlocking the exact energy that makes men feel something powerful in your presence. Because when a woman truly steps into this space, when she embraces her value, radiates certainty without needing validation, and moves with a kind of calm fire, men don't just notice, they respond, they respect, they fall. Not in weakness, but in reverence. And here's the truth, most won't tell you, this kind of woman isn't rare, she's just uncommon. And today, I'm going to show you how to become her. No fluff, no gimmicks, just real insight, real examples, and a transformation that begins the moment you decide you're done shrinking. So if you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting effortlessly, stay right here, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand what makes men fall to their knees. You'll know how to embody it. It's easy to assume that men are drawn to looks, status, or charm. But if that were true, the most adored women in history wouldn't be the ones they were obsessed with, long after the beauty faded. So what is it that men truly can't resist? It's an energy, something unspoken, feminine energy, but not the outdated version we've been told to suppress or tone down. I'm talking about the kind of feminine energy that is powerful because it's soft, magnetic because it's grounded, and unforgettable because it's felt, not shown. This energy doesn't chase. It doesn't need to prove, it just is. A woman in her feminine knows that her presence is a gift, not something she has to earn. She isn't trying to be chosen because she already chooses herself. She's not cold, she's not passive, but she's also not trying to control the outcome. She listens, not to respond, but to feel. She speaks, not to impress, but to connect. She moves, not to attract, but because she's in tune with her own rhythm. And men, they feel it instantly. They may not be able to describe it, but they're drawn to it in a way that bypasses logic. Because in a world full of performance, a woman rooted in her true feminine energy is a relief. She becomes the calm in their chaos, the mystery that makes them slow down, the mirror that reflects not their ego, but their essence. And when a man encounters this energy, something ancient wakes up in him. A deep longing, not just for intimacy, but for meaningful connection. This isn't about dominance or submission. It's about polarity. When you're in your feminine, you give him permission to step into his true masculine. And that's where magic begins. You don't have to change yourself to have this energy. You just have to return to yourself. And when you do, you won't have to chase attention ever again. You'll be the gravity men can't explain and won't want to escape. Because feminine energy, in its purest form, doesn't demand anything. It invites. And that invitation is irresistible. There's a big difference between the appearance of confidence and the quiet, unshakable strength of true inner power. You've seen the first kind before. The kind that walks into a room loudly. Perfect hair, bold voice, all eyes on her. She knows how to perform confidence, but underneath, there's tension, a slight edge of needing to be seen, validated, admired. Now contrast that with a woman who may not be the loudest, but carries herself like she knows exactly who she is. No performance, no exaggeration, no craving for attention. That's inner power, and it hits differently. True inner power doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't need applause. It radiates quietly, but undeniably, and it doesn't just impress people, it changes how they behave around you. When you're rooted in that kind of self-trust, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop playing roles. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable or inflating to seem worthy. You begin to operate from a place of calm certainty, and it affects everything. How you speak, how you say no, how you set boundaries without guilt, how you walk away when something doesn't align. Confidence can be learned, and that's great, but true inner power, that's built from doing the inner work. It comes from facing the parts of yourself you used to hide, from healing the need to prove anything to anyone. It's not about never feeling insecure. It's about knowing that even when you do, it doesn't define you. Men feel this difference. They can sense when confidence is a costume, and when it's the natural result of a woman who has met herself fully and decided she's enough. When you embody true inner power, you're not seeking permission. You're not afraid of rejection, because you no longer see it as a reflection of your worth. And that energy, that is what men, the ones who are ready, truly respect. Because confidence can be attractive, but inner power, that's unforgettable. Have you ever been around someone who says almost nothing, yet somehow leaves the deepest impression? That's the power of presence. It's how a woman can speak without saying a word and still shift the entire atmosphere of a room. When you're truly anchored in your feminine energy, your body, your eyes, your posture, all become a language of their own. And this silent language, it's far more honest, far more powerful, and far more felt than anything that could be said aloud. Here's the truth most people miss. Masculine energy listens to words, but masculine awareness listens to energy. And when a woman communicates from her energy, from her stillness, her softness, her rootedness, a man hears it on a deeper level than he could ever explain. It's not just the way she looks at him. It's the way she holds herself, the way she's not performing, the way she listens, fully, without racing to fill the silence, the way her presence invites him to slow down and be more himself. She doesn't interrupt to be heard. She doesn't over-explain to be understood. She lets her energy speak first, and it always does. In a world addicted to noise, she becomes unforgettable because of her calm. She's magnetic, not because she's loud, but because she's aligned. There's no desperation in her expression, no anxiety in her posture, just this unshakable "I know who I am" energy that speaks volumes before her mouth even opens. And men notice, whether they admit it or not, they feel it. Because when a woman is silent, yet fully present, when her gaze is steady, her energy open but self-contained, a man doesn't just want her attention, he wants to earn it. She becomes a mystery without trying to be. She invites curiosity simply by being real, being grounded, being deeply connected to herself. Most women are taught to talk their way into connection, to impress, convince, or entertain. But feminine power doesn't rush. It doesn't convince. It doesn't need to. Her silence isn't empty. It's full of intention, full of awareness, full of boundaries. And what happens when you master this kind of presence is extraordinary. You begin to notice that people lean in closer when you speak, that your words land heavier because they're rare, that men pause, listen longer, and respect you more, not because you demanded it, but because your energy commanded it. So if you want to transform how you show up, start here. Speak less, be present more. And remember, the most powerful women don't shout to be heard. They whisper, and the world leans in. Devotion is something most people misunderstand. It's not obsession. It's not obsession. It's not control. And it's not just consistent attention. True male devotion runs deeper. It's rooted in emotional safety, admiration, and a sense of purpose that a man feels in her presence, often without even fully understanding why. Here's the psychology behind it. Men are biologically wired to protect, provide, and pursue what they perceive as valuable. But value, to the masculine mind, doesn't just mean beauty or status. It means meaning. A woman who represents emotional meaning, not chaos, not performance, but depth, becomes someone a man wants to invest in. When a woman leads with her own emotional groundedness, when she carries herself with self-respect and intention, she triggers something powerful in a man's subconscious. He sees her as safe to trust, but too rare to take for granted. That balance creates the foundation for deep, unwavering devotion. This devotion doesn't come from how much she gives him. It comes from how much she respects herself. When a man feels that a woman is not emotionally dependent on him, but is fully open to connecting with him, he experiences both freedom and intimacy. And that combination, it's intoxicating. He stops seeing her as just someone to impress, and starts seeing her as someone he wants to build with, protect, grow alongside, and commit to on a soul level. But here's the key. She doesn't try to earn that devotion. She allows it. by staying in her worth, by showing up with softness and standards, by letting her presence speak, not just her words. That's when devotion happens, not because he's afraid to lose her, but because he can't imagine life without her presence. And once a man feels that, he doesn't just love her, he honors her. There's something undeniably magnetic about certain women. They walk into a room and don't just get attention. They shift the energy. People notice them without knowing why. Men feel drawn to them, and women often admire them without even fully understanding what they're doing differently. So what is it? What do magnetically feminine women have in common? First, they're deeply self-aware. They know their energy, their patterns, their emotions, and they take responsibility for them. They're not reactive. They don't spiral when things don't go their way. Instead, they pause, they breathe, and they respond with grace. That emotional steadiness creates safety, and safety is irresistibly attractive. Second, they have a calm inner confidence that doesn't need to be broadcast. You won't hear them constantly proving their worth or explaining themselves. They don't brag, they don't compete, and they're not performing. Their confidence comes from knowing who they are, not from needing others to remind them. Another trait, they embrace softness without weakness. This is where many women get confused. Being feminine doesn't mean being passive or naive. Magnetically feminine women have strong boundaries, clear standards, and unshakable values, but they express all of that with softness, not sharpness, not force. They speak from the heart, but their spine stays straight. They're also present, fully there. They're not distracted, checking their phone every 5 seconds or rehearsing what to say next. When they're with you, you feel it. That presence is rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. Another thing, they prioritize alignment over approval. These women don't shapeshift to fit in. They don't chase. They don't cling. They know that not everyone will understand them, and they're okay with that. They would rather be respected for their authenticity than liked for their performance. And perhaps most importantly, they radiate a sense of aliveness. They're not just pretty. They're not just polished. They're lit from within. They have passions, depth, creativity, emotional range. They feel things fully. They live with intention. And that inner vibrancy, it draws people in like gravity. You see, being magnetic isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. Real with emotion. Real with boundaries. Real with energy. Magnetically feminine women don't chase attention. They attract connection. They're not begging to be chosen. They choose themselves first. And that shifts everything. Because when you embody this energy, you don't have to try so hard. You become the invitation. The softness that awakens strength. The mystery that invites pursuit. The stillness that makes noise feel exhausting. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Let's be clear. If you don't have boundaries, you don't have self-respect. Magnetically feminine women understand something most people miss. Boundaries are not walls. They're not cold. They're not controlling. They're not about pushing people away. They are an invitation for respect, for real connection, built on clarity and mutual value. Without boundaries, a woman becomes emotionally porous. She absorbs everything, the moods of others, the chaos, the drama, the disrespect. And over time, that energy drains her. She begins to feel invisible, unappreciated, used, not because she isn't valuable, but because she hasn't communicated how she expects to be valued. Men, whether they admit it or not, deeply respect a woman who holds boundaries. Why? Because it signals self-worth. It shows him, without her needing to say a word, that she honors herself. And if she honors herself, he has to rise to that level if he wants access to her. A woman with strong, loving boundaries doesn't beg for commitment. She doesn't tolerate breadcrumbs. She doesn't explain her standards 10 times hoping he'll understand. She simply lives by them, calmly, unapologetically. And here's what's beautiful. Boundaries don't push high-quality men away. They do the opposite. They create clarity. A masculine man doesn't feel threatened by boundaries. He feels clear on what role he can step into. He knows where he stands, what's expected, and how to show up in a way that earns her trust. On the other hand, men who benefit from confusion, manipulation, or inconsistency, they'll disappear the moment you draw a line. And that's exactly what you want. Your boundaries don't just protect you, they filter for you. But here's the secret. Boundaries don't have to be loud, aggressive, or emotional. In fact, the most powerful ones are simple, neutral, and firm. You don't need to defend them, just follow through on them. For example, if he disappears for days and expects to pick up where he left off, your boundary isn't a lecture, it's distance. If someone constantly pushes your limits, your boundary isn't to argue, it's to remove access. If you feel your energy being drained, your boundary is simply saying, "This doesn't feel good to me, and I'm stepping back." Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling your access, your peace, and your time. And once you start honoring them, people start honoring you. Because in the end, the way you allow others to treat you is a direct reflection of how you treat yourself. And the woman who respects herself becomes the woman the world learns to respect. Let's make this real. It's one thing to talk about feminine energy, self-worth, and magnetism. But when you see it in action, in real women, in real situations, that's when it clicks. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya used to constantly overgive in relationships. She'd over-explain, overthink, and overstay, hoping one day a man would finally see her worth. She had confidence, sure, on the outside. But inside, she was running on empty. After just a few weeks of leaning into her feminine energy, everything changed. She stopped chasing. She started listening to her body. She got clear on what she truly wanted, not from fear, but from power. She set one boundary with a man she'd been chasing for months, and within days, he started chasing her. Not because she played a game, but because she finally stopped playing one. Then there's Olivia. She was constantly being told she was too much, too emotional, too opinionated, too strong. She thought she had to shrink or water herself down to be loved. But the moment she stopped apologizing for her emotional depth and started owning it, her entire energy shifted. She went from exhausting first dates with emotionally unavailable men to attracting someone who actually wanted to understand her, protect her, grow with her. Not because she became someone else, but because she became more of herself. And there's Jasmine. Quiet, reserved, used to being overlooked. She believed she had to be louder to be noticed. More fun, more exciting, more bold. But once she stepped into her softness, once she embraced her stillness as strength, people around her started responding differently. Men leaned in. Friends asked her advice. Her presence, once ignored, became impossible to ignore. And it wasn't about doing more. It was about being more aligned. These women didn't just get better relationships. They got better lives, peace, purpose, a feeling of finally coming home to themselves. Because here's the truth. When you shift your energy, you shift your outcomes. When you stop proving, chasing, fixing, and instead stand in your quiet worth, people begin to treat you differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. These transformations aren't rare. They're not reserved for a chosen few. They happen every day, when a woman decides she's done dimming her light, done being picked last, and done confusing being nice with being needed. This is your reminder. The life you want is not waiting on someone else's permission. It's waiting on your alignment. And once that clicks, everything else follows. Now that you've seen what it truly means to embody feminine energy, the kind that makes men stop, take notice, and fall to their knees, the big question is, how do you start living this energy today? First, know this. It's not about changing who you are. It's about returning to who you've always been, beneath the noise and distractions. Start by tuning into yourself. What do you really feel right now? Not what you think you should feel, but your authentic emotions and desires. Give yourself permission to sit with those feelings without judgment or rushing to fix them. This is where feminine power begins, in presence and acceptance. Next, practice setting gentle but firm boundaries. This might feel uncomfortable at first because it challenges old patterns of people-pleasing or fear of rejection. But boundaries aren't walls. They are acts of self-love. They say, I honor my time, my energy, and my worth. Begin small. Say no to one thing that drains you. Protect a piece of your peace today. Remember, embodying this energy also means cultivating stillness. In a world obsessed with doing, feminine power thrives in being. Take moments throughout your day to pause, breathe deeply, and reconnect with your body. Feel your heartbeat, your breath. Remind yourself that your presence alone holds immense power. Another essential step is embracing your softness without apology. Society often tells women that softness equals weakness, but it's actually a wellspring of strength. Softness allows you to be vulnerable and authentic, inviting genuine connection rather than performance. Let yourself express emotions freely and honor your sensitivity. This is magnetic. It's also crucial to nourish your passions and creativity. Energy that flows freely from doing what lights you up creates a radiant, magnetic aura. When you engage with what excites your soul, you step into a version of yourself that's alive, vibrant, and unforgettable. Lastly, practice self-trust. This means believing in your value without needing constant validation from others. When you trust yourself, your intuition, your choices, your worth, you stop chasing and start attracting. You become the woman who men respect, desire, and want to build a life with. Here's the truth. Embodying this energy isn't about perfection or never having doubts. It's about showing up authentically every day, with curiosity, courage, and compassion for yourself. The moment you commit to this path, you're already stepping into a new reality. One where you don't have to bend, beg, or prove. You simply are. And that alone changes everything. So start today. Look in the mirror and affirm, I am worthy. I am magnetic. I am enough, because you are. And when you live from that truth, men won't just notice. They'll be drawn to you in a way that's deep, lasting, and real. Your journey to embodying this irresistible energy starts now. If you've made it to this point, you already know this wasn't just another video. It was a moment, a shift, a reminder of who you really are. You're not here to chase approval. You're not here to shrink to fit. You're not here to prove your worth to anyone. You are here to remember your power and walk in it fully. And if something in this video lit a fire inside you, even a small one, don't let it go out. Let this be the beginning of a new standard for how you show up, how you love, and how you're loved in return. If this message spoke to you, please take a moment to subscribe, not just for more content, but to stay connected to energy that supports your growth, your softness, your strength, and your highest self. And if you know a woman who's forgotten how powerful she is, send this to her. You never know who's one video away from changing her life. Comment below, what part of this video resonated with you the most? I read every single one, and I love hearing your stories, your breakthroughs, and your transformations. And finally, if you want more videos on feminine energy, self-worth, relationships, and embodiment, make sure you turn on the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. This is your time. You are not too much. You are not enough. You are exactly right, and the right people will always feel that. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and thank you for choosing you. I'll see you in the next one.